radio show Thursday morning. We are remembering the one and only, the one-of-a-kind Paul Gallo. Passed away on Sunday afternoon. One of his most entertaining guests along the way was a man by the name of Steve Holland, former member of the Mississippi House of Representatives, longtime Politico in the state. Steve, good morning. I appreciate you being back on with me. I do have a question for you as we get started. Do you still kind of keep up with what's going on in Jackson?
Sort of. It's a key word for that. I bury 603 souls a year at my funeral home, so I don't have time to do much but bury the dead. But, I don't think my community yet understands that I got out of the legislature 5 years ago. I hear more from the public. They still call on me just like I was serving. But,
I was
good. And I
was just curious
a little bit.
Yeah, I was curious if you had seen this bill that was filed in the Senate yesterday, the Contraception Begins at Erection Act.
Well, I introduced a few crazy-ass bills myself over time, but, I don't understand that. I don't know why you feel with that. That's what I'll say about that. Surely to God, there's more important things to do than that. But
one might
anyway,
think.
I introduced a Gulf of America bill, and I guess they're in the same genre. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what's old is new again with the Gulf of America bill, right?
It is, man. I'm telling you, I'm tight with Trump.
Did you did you feel a sense of pride when you heard that in the inauguration speech?
Not really. I did it totally as a spoof, and then when he came along, of course, I must have gotten 1,000 texts and said, "Man, you tight with Trump?" I said, "Not really, but the man's got a right. He's president." So anyway,
we are doing our best to honor the memory of Paul Gallo this morning, and I know the relationship that you had with him went back a long way, and certainly the two of you had some good times on the radio and off.
I'll never forget the day Paul had called my office at the Capitol, I don't know, 15, 20 times, just literally begging me to get on, and Judy, my assistant, was out that day, so I answered the phone about 3:30 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was Paul, and I just said, "Hey, buddy, you better believe I'm going to be on your show at 7:30 in the morning. Now, here's my rules. You ask me the question, I'll give you an answer. But don't you ask the question and answer it for me, too." And I think it shocked Paul a little bit, and we had a little bit of a rocky start with our situation, but I'll tell you, it turned out over, 25 or 30 years to be an incredibly dynamic personal relationship that we had. And I used to tease him all the time. I'd say, "Paul, if it wasn't for me, your ratings would not be as high as they are. I'm the one person that'll come in and take you on." And we had fun with it. We really did. And I think we had some meaningful fun as well with it in letting folks know that there's two sides to every situation, But I love Paul. In the end, I'll never forget when I first got on there, Billy McCoy heard it, late Billy McCoy speaker.
Right.
But he came to me like a bee biting you, and he said, "Don't you ever go on Gallo again." I said, "Why?" And it stunned the speaker. I just said, "It's like a why." It stunned the speaker, and I said, "No, Mr. Speaker, you appointed me chairman of public health. I'm going to run public health, and I'll run who I want to get on the radio with as well." And I think over time, this is my take on it, and Paul and I discussed it a good bit off the air and as friends talking to each other from time to time, fairly often actually. But it brought a certain balance to the program that I think it needed. And literally, you can ask Brother Davenport this, every time I got on the program, the ratings went through the ceiling. So I still travel. People come to my funeral home from all over the state to honor the dead, and they'll say, I know you from Paul Gallo. Mm. And it almost makes me emotional because it's a tribute that two people that could be no more opposite came together because we just finally agreed to face each other, and it evolved over time from radio entertainment or talk radio genre to a deep, abiding friendship. So I'll miss Paul forever.
Did the two of you have any issues that you saw eye to eye on?
We did. I'd have to think a minute about what they were. There were a few. Now,
not just right on the tip of the tongue.
There were 1,000 that we didn't agree on, and maybe 2 or 3 that we did over time. And Paul was kind to me, and even when we were disagreeing, because that's what he had me on for. He knew I was going to have a different opinion, and we both were serious about what we were talking about, yet made it somewhat fun, and that worked. That worked for a radio audience and Mississippians. I don't know how many Republicans like me, believe it or not, simply because I got on the Paul Gallo radio show, and I would hear from everybody, and that's a good mix. That's a perfect marriage of opinions, if you will, I think. And of course, I don't know what he would have done either on the other reverse if he hadn't have made so many spoofs on me. I mean, everything I said he captured and made his little ditties with, and I think
and some of those were still playing, by the way.
Oh, I know you do. I never met a tax I didn't like. He loved that one better than anything in the world. But, it just, I think it engaged people, quite frankly, in the process as much as anything going over the last 25 years for us to get together. And he had actually asked me right before he really got down this last time, he said, would you consider doing like 30 minutes a week with me? And I told him, I said, Paul, it'd be the honor of my life. I just don't know where I can get the time. I lost my mother 4 years ago, so I run this funeral home pretty much with my associates, and I'm here, and I'm dedicated to it, and it's who Steve Holland is today. Mm-hmm. But, boy, I'll tell you, I mean, I deal in death every day. I look it in the face every day of my life. And it never gets easier from that standpoint. But I know when I got the news, when I got the phone call that Paul had crossed over, it was visceral. It was so visceral to me that I almost threw up. And then just almost instantly, my grief turned to gratitude. And I went, oh, my God, what a man. What an influence that one human being had on a political climate in one state, unparalleled. And I said, what fun we've had. I mean, how we both, with our opposite polars, got together and made folks think and laugh at the same time. That's a pretty good resolved equation there to me. So I'll always miss him. And I'm drinking out of a Paul Gallo SuperTalk Mississippi cup. If y'all got any laying around, you ought to gift one of them to me, because this one's just about wore out. I can barely see the writing.
Well, I will, next time I'm in Jackson, I'll see if there's one, and I'll bring it to Tupelo myself.
That'd be great.
Just a couple of minutes left with Steve Holland. If I handed you a crystal ball and gave you the ability to look into the future 2 years, and we were having a conversation 2 years from now, and Paul Gallo's name came up, what's the first thing you would think of?
Well, I mean, I think instantly I would almost laugh. It would be a pick-me-up moment, because we didn't like each other at first. Let's just call it the way it is. It took 2 or 3 years. And then all of a sudden the magic happened. And we liked each other.
What do you think caused that? What triggered the magic?
I can tell you exactly what it was. 2 hard-headed mothers butting heads together. Just, by gosh, we going to make this work. I'm going to be heard, and Paul was going to be heard. And we finally, some kind of something was sprinkled over us, and we went, this is really not bad. And then, as we'd get off air a lot of times, we'd just sit there and talk. And we found out we had way more in common than we had different about us. Our politics were different. But beyond that, we thought a lot of the same things about life and living and progress and, advancement and laughter and that kind of stuff. And it just made for a great, great, great friendship.
Well, it was an incredible chemistry on the radio. And, Steve, I can't thank you enough for spending a few minutes with us this morning. I look forward to more conversations with you and appreciate your time as we remember Paul Gallo.
Call me anytime. Rest in peace, Paul.
Steve Holland, longtime member of the House of Representatives here in the state of Mississippi. As you head off to school this morning, headed off to work this morning, we hope you have a wonderful day. We've got more coming up on the Gallo Radio Show. Franny, have a great day at school. We'll take a quick time out. Back with you right after this.
All behind me now.